Yes, allow me to reintroduce myself. Sorry for the break in transmission. We had a break and then we're back. My name is Prince Dr. Chukwemeka Edward Atede, and for your friends, my friends, they call me Eddy for short. It's a pleasure to have you on the other side of the listening wave. This is the Flight on the Wall podcast, and we have our illustrious guests with us. Right now, they are being reduced from two to one. We have Tosin. He's still in line with us, a very excited individual about the topic today. He is also going to be telling us about his business at the end of this episode. So we are looking forward to hearing all that he has to say about that. But first, let's get to the topic of today. The topic of today is planets. What and how? What do you know about them? Like, how many do you know? That's the topic. Planets. How many do you know? Mr. Tosin was enlightening us on the fact that he knew up to eight planets and even added nine planets Pluto, and then said that there are other planets about that. And he told us about what it means to have an atmosphere in a planet where you can test wind speed, you can test where the sun is coming from and know your coordinates, which is very, very advanced from where we are going to, but we are actually going to go there today. Well, which is awesome. I like my guests to be pre-planned, pre-knowledge, and if they have the information to give us, that makes me super excited. So please, Wilson, if you would like to continue where you stopped, while I try to make sure all the guests are in, that would be awesome. Thank you so much, sir. You can reintroduce yourself if you want, and then let us know what you think.
Okay, so I think I'll reintroduce myself. Okay, my name is Bitoye Oluwatosin. The creative director in Erie Clothing, a fashion brand that is sustainable over the past 9 years, and we're still growing.
Hmm.
And it's always a pleasure to be on this podcast of my very good friend, Emeka Ata, Eddy4ShoT's. I always look forward to being on your podcast, but sometimes you know permit. I really want to be on permit.
I appreciate it.
So yeah, I'm talking about I'm also I think reporting live from Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria.
Lagos, Nigeria.
Talking about planet, Earth, the universe, the Milky Way, galaxy, and everything that has everything that has to do with the outside world. I mentioned earlier that I know some planets. I used to sing in secondary school: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, blah blah blah. I think I mixed them up or something.
Yeah, you got it not bad.
I tried, right? Then I heard an update that the last one, which is Pluto, has gone extinct. I don't know what vanished it to. I don't know where he went to. And that's where this Charlie Poppy wants to go to. He's always thinking about Plutomania, Plutomania. I don't know what's up with the guy. But anyways, it's interesting. And it's also known that the hottest planet is Mercury, while the coldest used to be Pluto. But now maybe the previous one before Pluto. And I also talked about some facts about the geographical what's it called now? Geographical facts about the Earth, like where the sun is rising from, where it's set, where the wind is coming from, where it's going to, how to know the directions. Maybe you find yourself in the desert. I don't know how you find it there, but just in case you find yourself in the desert or in the bush and you have to get out of it, so you can easily detect directions of wind to know where you're coming from or where you're going to. So by dipping your finger, your thumb, or your index finger in water, or just make it wet, you could use your saliva. Yeah. But anyhow, just get it wet and feel the direction of the breeze. So you can, okay, if the breeze is coming from here, then I think I should be moving towards the wind or against the wind. Yeah, that's one. And also, I also found it interesting and fascinating to know the sunset and sunrise, the sunrise and sunset from the east and to the west. Yeah, another interesting thing that I know about sunsets and sunrise is I never knew the word news was a combination of north, east, west, and south. I think I don't. Am I correct? News.
Okay.
NEWS is north, east, west, and south. That's gathering the coordinates of the world together. So that means whatever is being said on that session is coming from all around the world, from the north, from the east, from the west, and from the south.
That is interesting. I
So
didn't know that.
you didn't know that,
I didn't know that.
right?
There are some things that you said that I will tell you the right, I won't say writing, the new information on. There are some things
Okay.
you get incorrect, and there are some things that you got marvelously correct, which I'm very, very happy that you are on that level of knowledge. All right. Let me try to
I'm
address.
happy that I'm getting some things correctly.
Yes, I'm very happy you did. And you know, I didn't know about the north, east, west, and south being the combination that made news. And that is interesting. I used to think it was something else. Like, and now everyone is aware of something. Right? I don't,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know.
interesting to know. It's interesting to know. So if we have north, we have the east, the west, and the south. So it's like a zigzag. And
Mm,
that's how I know, that's how I got to really understand directions of north, south, east, west, northwest, east, and northeast, southeast, and all of that. It was kind of interesting. And at this point, I was wishing I continued in geography or we did a lot of geography. It would have been also interesting. Yeah, so getting to know those facts, and when we see, we watch some movies, the NASA, they go outer space, the part of them jumping on the moon. I
mm.
really want to do that. I really want to do that.
Really
Jump
want
on
to
the
go to
moon
the moon. Yeah, a
in
man
my
like me. I
jetpack,
also want to go to the moon. I also want to go to the
with my
planet.
jetpack, and I'll be diving, feeling like Superman,
That was
I
up.
just
So, all right,
looking
let's
for
dive into this
more.
topic today. The topic, as I said, is planets. And yes,
Yeah.
I did not define all the planets. Forgive me about that, but I'm about to do so. From
Okay.
the onset, we have 8 planets now that are officially recognized. Pluto did not vanish or it did not disappear. It's still there. We just demoted it to a dwarf planet. All right. So
What?
to explain first what a planet is, and then I'll explain what made
Hey,
Pluto
limited frequency, what?
a dwarf planet.
Dwarf.
Yes, dwarf.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, it's interesting, right? Have you heard of a dwarf planet
Very
before?
interesting. Very interesting.
Have you heard of a dwarf planet before?
First time.
Glad. This is the Flight on the Wall podcast. We're here to educate. That's what we like. Yes. Okay. So a dwarf planet is a status given to a set of celestial bodies that don't obey these 3 characteristics. The first characteristic, from what I remember very well, is the planet has to be big enough for it to be called a planet. It has to be big enough to be a spherical body. So that means asteroids are out of the game. They can't be. They're not big enough to be a sphere. We have something like that in the asteroid belt called Ceres. Ceres is a. I wish I could show you a picture of it, but I don't want to get copyright. But Ceres is a planetary body that is about maybe the size of like 1/3 of the Earth, or maybe no, not 1/3. That's too large. 1/6 of the Earth. So imagine a ping pong ball close to the Earth, right? If the Earth was a basketball, the Ceres would probably be the size of a ping pong ball. Our moon is like a quarter of the Earth, so our moon is more like a cricket ball compared to
Okay.
the basketball. Okay.
Okay.
But we have other celestial bodies that are bigger than our moon, but we'll get there. Now, a dwarf planet is a planet that is in that range. It's not large enough to create a sphere. So that's the first characteristic. It doesn't have a spherical body. The second thing is on its path around the sun, it has not cleared the asteroid. So every planet has an orbit around the sun, right? It's path around the sun. It's along its path. Yes, there are things that intersect, like asteroids and shooting stars that pass through, and comets and whatnot, right? They pass through the celestial plane, the solar system's plane, but they are not bound to anything except for the asteroid belt, and farther out at the Kuiper belt, and further out at the Oort cloud, and all the entire the large system body. But we're going to get there. That's too fine in the beginning. So the dwarf planet has not cleared its path around the sun. Every other planet has cleared its path around the sun. The third thing is it has to be strong enough. Its gravitational center should lie inside its body. So that means the Earth, its gravitational center is somewhere inside of its mass. It's not outside of it. Now, I'll give you an example of something not having a mass on the inside of it. If you hold a rope with a ball at the end, right? There's a weight and maybe a chain or a rope attached to that ball, right? I don't have anything I can use to simulate something like that, but just imagine a ping pong ball attached to a string. Now, if you take that ping pong ball and you start spinning it around, where the string stays taut is the gravitational center of that body, okay? Our Earth's gravitational center is in the center, so our moon orbits it, right? Our sun's gravitational center is in its center, so our planet orbits it, okay? The problem with Pluto and all the other ones that were demoted to dwarf planets is they don't obey those three characteristics. They don't have, oh, did I lose my guess? I guess network cut me out. But anyways, they don't have one, which is the first, they've not crushed their body into a sphere. That's the first. Second, they have not cleared their path around the sun. And third, they don't have their baryonic mass, their gravitational center, inside of their system. It is somewhere out on the surface or outside of the body. So someone like Pluto, first, yes, you say Pluto is a sphere. It has warped itself. It's heavy enough to warp itself into a sphere. So it checks that one box, but it doesn't check the other two boxes, which is, okay, the baryonic center of Pluto is somewhere outside of its mass. So its moon, which is almost the same size as it, let's say this is Pluto here, and this is Chiron. Chiron is Charon is the moon of Pluto, orbits Pluto, but not orbiting Pluto's center. Their center of mass is somewhere outside. So also, Pluto is pulled along as they orbit each other. You understand what I mean? So normally, this one, the planet is supposed to stay stiff, relatively speaking, still, as the satellite orbits it. Because a satellite is anything that orbits anything, a satellite, okay? As the satellite is orbiting the moon or the planet, the baryonic mass, where it is orbiting against, right, where the string is pulling against, that center of mass should lie in the center of the planet. Therefore, Pluto, that center of mass lies outside of the planet. So Pluto is also tangentially pulled along as the orbit is happening. Do you understand? Okay. Now I just defined the chaotic orbit, but that's like orbital mechanics. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is how many planets we have. So right now, currently, we have the Earth, which is our planet. It is the third rock from the sun. We have Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Neptune, and Uranus. Uranus before Neptune, actually. All right. So 8 planets. Now we have other dwarf planets that were discovered recently, like, they were discovered a while ago, but people just started knowing about them. Their names are like Sedna, Eros, Makemake, Erin, I think, and there's some with numbers in their name. There's a lot of dwarf planets. So the reason why they reclassified, not demoted, I know I use the word demoted, but the word should be reclassified Pluto as a dwarf planet is because One, it doesn't have a clear orbit around the sun because it has these asteroids along its orbit. Two, its baryonic center is not in the center of mass of the planet. So those two things disqualifies it from those three criteria you need to be to make a planet. Now, there are other things that they found. The reason why they demoted Pluto was that as they were looking further and further out past Pluto, people developed better telescopes, better ways of seeing the world. You know, what ended up happening was Pluto couldn't stand with the other planets anymore because they found all these other bodies, these bodies that look like Pluto, sometimes are even a little bit larger than Pluto, maybe more dense than Pluto. But one, they've not cleared their path around the sun. Two, they have their baryonic mass is not in the center or something, or they are not spherical. Like, I think Maki is like an oblate shape like this. So it's like there's a bunch of them like that they are supposed to be planets in their right. They look large enough, they look spherical enough, they are big enough, but they just don't measure up to the criteria that is necessary to make yourself a planet. All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, I really want to thank you for joining us. You've learned a little bit about planets. You've learned about atmospheric pressure. You've learned about wind speed changes. That is going to be on the next podcast when we dive into the planets and talk about the layers that it takes to get down to the biosphere that you and I live in. Currently, we have 8 planets. We have way more than 8 quote-unquote celestial bodies that orbit our sun. There are millions of them. The question is, if we start naming all of them planets, we'll run out of names very quickly. I'm not saying that we're going to run out of names because NASA has literally classified most of the stars and they have something of a name to them. And, you know, the names now run with numbers and digits, so you don't call them anymore. You know, oh, that is Maki, that is Sedna, that is Eros, that is Enni, that is Pluto, that is Neptune, that is Mars. No, they now have like 473590-2 Kuiper Belt ABC Alpha Centauri AB1B or something like that. It's always amazing. But we will talk about all of this on the podcast. I want to use this opportunity to say thank you so much for joining me. It has been an honor. Network didn't allow us to have all our guests on at the same time. And when we did have our guests on at the same time, the Zoom broke down. So I'll try to look for a better means to have everybody on, connecting, and we'll have one stream that lasts the entire day. Thank you so much for joining me on the FlyEd on the World podcast. This has been Eddy4ShoT's, Chukwuemeka Prince, Dr. Chukwuemeka Edward Atede, Anyawuna Waroha, one of Apugo. But your friends, my friends, they call me Eddy4ShoT's. It's a pleasure to have you on the other side of the listening wave. As we look on into infinity, it's a pleasure to have you to join me. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.